We're back.
It's
Week
the horror
238
guys.
of...
The Horror Guys.
That's us, the Horror Guys. Let's say it again.
The Horror Guys.
Wow.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
We're going to talk about some horror movies, aren't we?
As always, 4 movies and, 5 movies this week.
You know what is really fun? Getting your brains eaten. It's just hilarious when that happens, right?
I thought getting a big old bloody bite on your arm was fun.
Yeah. Well, all these things, they make them kind of funny this week because it's Funny Zombies Week.
Woohoo!
Or at least somewhat lighthearted. There's still a lot of grimness and horror in these, but they managed to make them kind of funny.
Yep.
We got Shaun of the Dead from 2004, and we'll visit Zombieland not once but twice in 2009 and 2019. 2013's Warm Bodies, kind of a different take on a zombie, and Pride and Prejudice and Zombies from 2019.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What other funny zombies have we done? We have done, like, Anna and the Apocalypse was funny, and a musical. That's
yeah.
in one of our past episodes.
Have we done Return of the Living Dead officially?
We did Return of the Living Dead. Yeah, that was
and,
probably the earliest zombie comedy.
And there's also talk of that being remade, which I don't think is necessary.
No.
Return of the Living Dead is just hilarious and perfect the way it is.
It makes fun of all the punks and things like that, and it just wouldn't be funny today. They'd
Not
update it to
as
something
funny.
stupid.
Yeah. I'm not optimistic about that.
Okay, so it's Zom-Com Week.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about those and some non-comedy zombie movies that we're talking about over at horrorbulletin.com. You can read the reviews of 65 from 2023. It's that new zombie movie with that...
It's not zombies, it's dinosaurs.
with Kylo Ren in it. What's his name?
Adam Driver.
Yes.
Yeah. Science fiction-y. Action thriller horror.
Well, there's
some horror,
dinosaurs and
there's some
giant
horror
monsters
elements
and stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a monster movie, though. Not really.
Not really. It's more sci-fi.
And also The Uninvited from 1944. It's like the earliest version of Turn of the Screw with Ray Milland.
Wow.
Who is actually funny in this one.
Yeah.
It's not a comedy, but he's got some good stuff.
It's pretty lighthearted. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Actually, it may be the best version of Turn of the Screw.
Best one I've seen so far. Yeah.
Well, there's that one, that miniseries from last year.
Oh, that was pretty
Bly
good.
House or
Haunting
something.
of Bly Manor.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That also had some other stuff mixed in, too, though.
Yeah.
All right, well, first up, we got...
Shaun of the Dead from 2004,
Woo!
which was directed by Edgar Wright, written by Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright. And I had that wrong. I thought that he teamed up with Nick Frost on the writing, but no, they're just acting in it together. It's starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, also Kate Ashfield and Lucy Davis. Runtime's an hour and 39 minutes, and there's a trailer in the show notes.
Spoiler-free. What happens?
Well, this is straight-up comedy horror, and it still held up really well during our second viewing of it. The writing is excellent, and the cast is really perfect in the roles.
Yeah. I didn't see this when it first came out, but I saw it somewhere in the mid-2000s, and only once.
I saw it when it came out, yeah. That was my first time, and yeah, this was my second viewing. I liked it.
Did you see it at the theater?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think I'd even heard of this when it first came out. It was below my radar.
Yep, it was good.
Yeah. Well, to give the whole thing here.
Spoiled the heck out of it.
Yep. Liz talks to Shaun about his annoying friend, and he talks to her about her annoying flatmates. All 3 people that they're talking about being annoying are right there with them. You know that annoying guy I do the podcast with every week, that Kevin guy? He is really annoying.
And then,
oh wait,
and
he's
then
right
camera,
here, isn't he?
Camera pans back, and you see that he's standing there staring at you.
Well, she wants to do more than hang out at the pub every single night, but he promises to change tomorrow night. And then credits roll. Well, Pete, Shaun's other roommate, wants to get Ed out since Ed is worthless.
Yeah, I don't think Ed is an official roommate. He just hangs out there all the time.
He came over once and stayed.
Yeah, basically. He doesn't work. He doesn't pay rent. He just is there.
He plays video games and eats all their food.
Yeah, but Shaun loves him, so,
Shaun walks to work, and we see his neighborhood, and we hear a radio report about a deep space satellite that broke up over land. He works in the appliance store, and we see some concerning things on the news programs playing behind him. Of course, he's oblivious to all of it. Shaun's creepy stepfather comes by to remind Shaun about his visit tomorrow. There are many jump scares in this workplace, all of which are completely normal fake-outs. Did you notice how they did that? They kept playing the music and dun-dun, and then nothing would happen.
It was really skillfully done, yeah.
Shaun fails at basic reservation making, and Liz doesn't want to see him anymore. As the pair argue, we hear continuous sirens outdoors. The argument goes badly for Shaun, so he goes back to the pub with Ed, and Ed points out it's not the end of the world.
Little do they know.
They haven't been paying any attention.
No, that's what's funny about this. They're just all of them are so oblivious.
And it's really obvious if you just look up and look around.
Yeah.
Well, the two leave the pub completely drunk and ignore all the zombie happenings going on all around them. They get home and Pete chews them out for being losers. His hand has a bite mark on it. Well, morning comes and the streets are deserted except for wreckage, damaged cars, people running, trash everywhere, and closed shops. Well, Shaun goes to the grocery in his hungover daze and pays no attention to the blood everywhere.
Yeah, and the signs, again, are even more obvious that something's not right. And
he is just completely oblivious.
Yeah.
But he makes it back home okay. And Ed points out that there's a weird girl standing out in their garden. They assume she's drunk, but when she gets impaled and doesn't die, they think maybe something isn't right about that.
Yeah, that's not normal.
Well, the newsman reports that zombies can be killed by destroying the brain or removing the head. Shaun and Ed find out that doing that's harder than they expected. Armed with a shovel and a cricket bat, they figure it out. The newsman also reports that bitten people change, so they remembered Pete, who's upstairs. Shaun calls his mom, who says his stepdad Philip isn't feeling well. "We're coming to get you, Barbara," shouts Ed. Wow.
Yeah, a tribute to the original. And Pete has changed. We don't mention it here, but yeah, there's a little bit of drama with him.
I don't think he had... Oh, Pete, yeah.
Yeah, the roommate, yeah.
Yeah, they run out to the car, and yes, it's a full-blown zombie apocalypse now. Shaun arrives at his parents' house, and he goes after Philip, who isn't a zombie. They just assumed he was. They all go outside, and Philip does get bitten immediately. They drive to Liz's place to rescue her from the apartment. Basically, everyone gets into this tiny little car and heads for safety at the Winchester pub. It's the only place they know.
Sanctuary.
Stepfather Philip makes a confession to Shaun because he thinks he's dying. Then he does become a zombie and tries to eat them all in the tiny little car. The group runs into Yvonne's very similar group going in a different direction. I didn't quite get all this. This was like a mirror image of their group.
Yeah, it was.
But they didn't do anything with it. They just said hello and kind of passed each other.
Yeah, just a funny moment. Yeah, and going in the opposite direction, like where they both, like what do they think they're accomplishing? They're going in different directions and they pass each other. So they're each going where the other group had been.
Yeah.
And it doesn't occur to them to, team up or go in a different direction or ask, hey, what's back there or anything. They just,
And some of the people in that other group were just relatively big stars.
And they're just so British and polite that they just, kind of greet each other with a nod.
It was a weird scene. Well, anyway, stepfather Philip turns into a zombie. Yes. Okay, they finally can't get to the Winchester pub, which is completely surrounded by zombies. "We're not going to get anywhere by moaning," one of them says.
Or maybe they will.
They all pretend to be zombies and walk right down the middle of the road. Shaun gets loud and draws all the zombies away from the group.
Yeah, because when they get to the Winchester, it's locked. They can't get in.
Can't get in.
So he's going to divert them and see if they can break in or something.
Liz, Ed, David, Diane, and Barbara wait and argue in the pub for Shaun to return. When he does finally come back, they try to watch TV, but all the stations are down. Liz notices that Barbara's been bitten. The zombies surround the place, and Shaun finds a gun with 29 shells. They all have a standoff over what to do about Barbara until she does in fact turn. David gets literally torn apart by the zombies, and so does Diane. Ed falls to the horde as well. Soon it's only Shaun and Liz and a heavily bitten Ed. Shaun and Liz make it outside just as a busload of soldiers arrive and start shooting. Yvonne and her group made it out and got help.
Yay.
Well, we know who the smart ones of this group was.
Uh-huh.
Well, 6 months later, we watched news reports about the mobile deceased. They don't use zombies.
No, they're not walkers.
Well, these mobile deceased are now on comedy shows, contests, and reality shows. It's fun to torment the dead.
Yeah, they've got it under control, and yeah.
Shaun and Liz are still together, and he's got Zombie Ed outside in the shed, and they still play video games. You do what you know best when you're dead.
Yep.
Okay, well, the restaurant that Shaun tries to make reservation at is Fulci's.
Nice
More zombie
there.
hooks there.
Mm-hmm.
I like how most of the people in town look and act like zombies even before the incident takes place. People on the bus and walking down the street in the grocery store, they're like,
Very zombified, yeah. Yeah.
Between that and all the very mundane jump scares in the beginning, it's amazing that anyone survives normal life. Ed is one of those characters you'd like to have with you during a thing like this. He'd be eaten within the first 5 minutes. You don't have to be the fastest in the group, just don't be the slowest. Surprisingly, for almost 20 years, it holds up pretty well, even though many funny zombie films followed.
Mm-hmm. There's lots of them out there.
Yeah, we mentioned a few of them earlier that came before this, like Return of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
But this was probably the big one for funny zombies. All right, and next up we got another one. Zombieland from 2009. Directed by Ruben Fleischer, written by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick. Stars Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, and Emma Stone. Hour and 28 minutes, trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free. This is a really fun ride of humor, horror, and action in perfect balance. It's got a good cast with chemistry that works, and they look like they're all having a good time making it, too.
Yeah, they do. I remember hearing a story in the news. Woody Harrelson has a reputation for partaking of, various substances.
No.
Yeah. And don't know what the full story was. I mean, he didn't really get in much trouble over it, but apparently when he was disembarking, or he was in the airport, and a reporter approached him, and he just kind of freaked out and attacked the reporter. And his defense was, well, he'd just been working on Zombieland, and he thought it was a zombie attack. He was still stressed out from that, or flashing back or something.
Uh-huh.
That was his defense.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But anyway.
And I had seen this one before. I saw this not long after it came out.
I had not
You
seen
had
these.
not seen this one before.
No.
This is your first viewing.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Well, spoiler the heck out of it. We get a voiceover about how America isn't America anymore without people. The narrator, who's Jesse Eisenberg, he calls it Zombieland, and he has rules for surviving. And we get to watch demonstrations of all of them. Number 1 is cardio, because the fatties were the first to go. Double tap, always shoot the dead twice or more. 3, beware of bathrooms.
They'll get you in the bathroom.
That's right. 4, fasten your seatbelts.
And there's like 30-something rules by the end of the movie.
Yeah, but that's all for now. And credits roll. And the narrator tells us that it's been 2 months since the world basically ended. We immediately see that his rules do work. He explains that he's a loner, but now he kind of misses people. So he's heading home to Columbus to see if his parents and family are still alive. A car pulls up, a man with a shotgun gets out, and they're holding guns on each other, sorta. It's all very tense until Columbus puts his thumb out for a ride. Tallahassee agrees to give him a ride for a while. Tallahassee has a weakness for eating Twinkies. They do find a Hostess truck full of snowballs.
Ooh.
And he's very disappointed. Columbus, on the other hand, is afraid of clowns. Well, we get flashbacks to Columbus and his neighbor from apartment 406 before everything bad happened. She tells a story about watching a crazy homeless man who tried to bite her, and she goes to sleep on his shoulder. But when they wake up, she's a zombie. She attacks him, and he barely escapes. Well, Tallahassee has a sick sense of humor about the zombies, but Columbus takes it a lot more seriously. They continue their search for Twinkies, and that leads to grocery store carnage. They spot a girl in the store, and her sister has been bitten. Well, no, not really. This is Wichita and Little Rock, who are playing a con to get the shotgun away from Tallahassee, and then they steal their car, which really annoys Tallahassee. But they find a new car soon enough. And the guys catch up to the girls, who appear to have broken down, except they're faking them out again.
We know who the smart ones in this movie are.
The girls are smart ones. They're con artists, yeah. And we get a flashback to the girls conning people before the outbreak. They were into being con artists. Well, they all decide to go to Pacific Playland, a famous amusement park. Little Rock is about 12 years old. She's more mature than Tallahassee. That night, they stop at a tourist trap that's all lit up. They wreck the place.
And as always in zombie films, especially after the first week or two, you got to wonder where the power comes from.
Where does the power come from? Yeah, this place is just completely lit up and completely deserted, completely undisturbed.
Well, that could be, but still, power doesn't run itself.
Yeah. Well, they eventually arrive in Hollywood, home of Pacific Playland. They shoot a few zombie actors, and these are like the street performers that, do it for tips out on the street. There's like a Charlie Chaplin and, various characters that are zombified. Well, they grab a map to the stars' homes, the zip code 90210, not the show. And they go to the top of the A-list actors, Bill Murray's house.
Because when I think the best actors in Hollywood...
Oh, Bill Murray all the way, yeah. Little Rock seems to have never heard of Bill Murray, Willie Nelson, or Gandhi. I think she's
12.
I think she's kind of putting them on a little, though. Well, we see someone creepy approaching the group. It's Bill Murray, and he's a zombie. No, he's faking it. He's normal, but pretending to be a zombie to blend in. He gets high with Tallahassee and Wichita while Columbus and Little Rock watch Ghostbusters in his home theater. Bill puts on his zombie wig and goes into the theater to scare Columbus, who shoots him to death.
Which really is kind of a stupid thing to do.
You don't want to sneak up on people pretending you're a zombie when they're armed. Well, he didn't realize
it was a prank. It was a prank.
It was just a joke, man. Yeah. Well, we get a flashback to Tallahassee and his dog, who is actually a child. He tells,
he's told stories about his dog before.
But he's actually a family guy, yeah. Well, Wichita and Columbus dance and get closer together. Wichita and Little Rock steal the car and go to Pacific Playland. They figure out how to turn on the lights and the power. Again, a lot of power. This wakes up all the zombies for miles around who start making a beeline for the park. Columbus and Tallahassee argue about going after the girls, and Columbus leaves. He's going to go rescue them. Well, the girls are stuck on a tower ride, surrounded by hundreds of zombies. The guys show up, have a ball blasting the dead. Tallahassee draws most of the zombies away while Columbus goes after the girls, except there's a zombie clown.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that slows him down a little, but he gets through it. And happy ending. Columbus finally gets his kiss, and Tallahassee gets a Twinkie.
Woohoo, Twinkies!
I thought this was a hoot. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's good. The rules popping up on the screen are always funny when they resurface, because later on these they do things, and they remind you about the rules.
Mm-hmm, and they do apply.
There's a little segment, Zombie Kill of the Week. That needs to be a thing on all shows.
Yeah, it does.
Bill Murray stole the film, even though he's only on for a couple of minutes. We never did quite figure out how the park and the other places were getting their electrical power, but hey, that's zombie films for you. It never slows down, it's funny throughout, and it really doesn't get too ridiculous. I mean, Shaun of the Dead, some of those situations were just impossible. Mm-hmm. This one, it's funny, but it's a bit more realistic.
A little bit, yeah.
All right, and that's the last we ever see of those guys again.
No, 10 years later, Zombieland Double Tap. 2019, they bring the quartet back again. And Little Rock is all grown up now.
Yep.
I thought that was cool that they really did bring back all four actors.
Directed by Ruben Fleischer, written by Rhett Weisz, Paul Wernick, and Dave Callahan, stars Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin, the four main characters from the original. 1 hour, 39 minutes. Spoiler free, what happens?
Well, like I said, this was cool how 10 years passed, both in our world and the movie world. They
were all 10 years old.
And they said it 10 years has passed in the movies. And the same quartet, so they're a little older. Little Rock is now a woman. It's another dose of the same, and maybe even more so. It's funny and gross and full of action, and it's a really good sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
And neither of us had seen this one before.
No.
Kind of skipped this one when it came out. Yeah. Well, Columbus explains that in the time since the first film, zombies have been evolved into types. There are the Homers, the stupid ones.
Homer.
Hawkings, the smart ones. And then there are the silent, deadly ninjas. Well, we cut to the 4 main characters from before on the lawn at the White House, massacring zombies. They sleep in the Lincoln bedroom, but covers Lincoln's eyes because he's creepy.
Well, Columbus and Wichita do.
Yeah. Little Rock complains about never having a boyfriend, but she doesn't have many options. They give each other some very unique presents for Christmas. Things from the White House, you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Columbus reads the Walking Dead comics and says it's not very realistic. It's not that far off.
No, not too far.
He wants to marry Wichita, but she's not into that at all. The next morning, the girls leave again.
Yeah, and he proposes. He's got the ring that it's just this, this priceless,
Some big
gem
presidential
ring.
relic.
Yeah.
Tallahassee talks about his Indian blood, and he just bores Columbus.
Yeah, suddenly he's a Native American and going on about it.
Columbus meets Madison. She's annoying, and she picks on Tallahassee for being so old. Tallahassee complains, zombies eat brains, and she ain't got any. Then Wichita returns to steal some weapons, and Little Rock is gone. She ran off with Berkeley, a pacifist musician she met. This doesn't go over well with Tallahassee, who has gotten all parental over the years. The 2 young people ran off to go visit Graceland. There's supposed to be a new, better, stronger zombie out there.
Uh-oh.
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 Columbus and Wichita make up, and then Madison shows up.
Awkward.
Oops.
Yeah, because in the meantime, Columbus was sleeping with Madison.
Yeah, and she comes down the stairs. Are you coming back to bed?
Oops.
Oops. Well, the whole group packs up and goes after the kids going on the way to Graceland. Madison gets on everyone's nerves, but she is nicer than Wichita, even if she's completely stupid.
Yeah, she just seems like a real bubblehead.
They run into the new type of zombie that doesn't go down with a double tap. They call them the T-800 model. They're the Terminators of the zombie world. Berkeley is a bit of a songwriter, and he serenades Little Rock in their car. What's he singing? Free Bird or something like that he made up himself?
Yeah, and some other well-known song, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I wrote that.
Yeah, he did. It's hard to disprove these kind of things.
Uh-huh.
Back in the other car, Madison gets sick. If you love something, you shoot it in the face so it doesn't become a flesh-eating monster. These little bumper sticker slogans have changed.
Yeah.
Columbus shoots her himself.
Well, we see him go off in the woods.
And we hear the shots, yes.
Mm-hmm.
They make it to Graceland, and it's a burned-out wreck. They do, however, find the Hound Dog Hotel, which has Little Rock's car parked out front. Columbus puts on the blue suede shoes inside.
Yeah, this is full of Elvis memorabilia and
Elvis's real blue suede
replications
shoes.
of parts of the Graceland. And,
yeah,
it's a very cool place.
I guess they probably couldn't get rights to film inside the real place.
Yeah, probably not.
Tallahassee is attacked by a woman named Nevada. She said Little Rock and Berkeley left a few days ago for a commune. She talks about how Bill Murray died by pretending to be a zombie and some dummy shot him. That's now called Murraying, and it's a well-known... I don't know how this got to be well-known. But Columbus pretends not to understand the story. Nevada and Tallahassee get real friendly real fast. Little Rock and Berkeley get to the Babylon commune, and they're invited inside. They're a bunch of peaceful people inside, so they have to melt down their guns and make little peace sign pendants. It's a very weird, walled-off place full of hippies.
Yeah, there's a tower building in the center of it, and then they've got a circle of double-stacked...
buses and things.
Buses and
storage
empty
units.
trailers
Yeah.
and things like that are, a barricade. So they got a fortress.
Yeah, okay. Well, a new guy, Albuquerque... It's funny, they never have 2 people from the same city.
Uh-huh.
This new guy, Albuquerque, shows up at the hotel, and he's like a twisted mirror of Tallahassee. Then Flagstaff, the dollar store clone of Columbus, shows up. He has a list of commandments that are almost the same as Columbus's rules. The 2 cowboys mock each other, and the 2 nerds nerd at each other. They're like, yeah,
Yeah, that's funny.
It's like the mirror group in Shaun of the Dead.
And I like, there's one moment where Tallahassee's, is looking out the window at him and asking Wichita, are these 2 just the most uniquely annoying people you've ever seen? And she's like, no, not uniquely annoying.
Well, a group of T-800s show up, and Albuquerque and Flagstaff make short work of them. But Albuquerque got bit. Doesn't take long before he starts to turn. Flagstiff got bit twice, and the pair end up fighting their evil doppelgangers in the Elvis Museum.
It's quite a battle scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get back on the road and pass Madison driving a clown truck. She's not dead after all. Turns out she just had a nut allergy, and Columbus couldn't bring himself to shoot her. Like, who could have known trail mix has nuts?
Yeah, she had no idea.
Well, the group eventually finds Babylon, but they aren't allowed to take their guns inside. They go in anyway and meet up with Little Rock, who actually may be happier left alone here.
Yeah, Tallahassee hasn't given up his guns. He takes off.
Yeah. Tallahassee decides to leave for his own adventures. He doesn't get very far before he finds a whole mob of T-800s heading for the completely unarmed Babylon.
Yeah, Babylon, they're setting off fireworks, a celebration thing, and that's drawing the zombies.
It's almost bad as an amusement park.
Uh-huh.
Well, they set up some traps and get ready for the T-800s. They blow up a whole bunch of them, but there's a lot more than they expect. They're all about to die when Nevada charges in with a monster truck and rescues them.
I totally saw that coming.
Yeah, somebody needs to make a grand entrance here.
Yeah, and that was the logical thing. That monster truck was still there, where the Hound Dog Hotel. Yeah.
It's all awesome until the monster truck rolls over on its back.
Oops.
Tallahassee leads the remaining zombies up to the roof of the tower, and the group sets up a gauntlet, and the whole zombie crew runs right off the roof to their deaths, just like in the buffalo story that he told earlier.
Yeah, he was telling about his Native American ancestors who, during a buffalo hunt, they would lead a herd off the cliff and then just, clean them up at the bottom of the cliff.
And that's what he does.
Yeah.
Well, Wichita finally agrees to marry Columbus. Tallahassee and Nevada do as well. So do Madison and Berkeley. All the hippies have a party. Later, the group drives away in Elvis's pink Cadillac, and we get a Bill Murray flashback in the mid-final credit sequence. What led Bill Murray up to his eventual demise?
And I never knew before how much Woody Harrelson was into Elvis. He has a previous career as an Elvis impersonator, I understand. And if you listen close...
There's Elvis songs in this.
There's Elvis songs. It's not Elvis singing. If you listen close, it's Woody Harrelson.
He's pretty good, too.
Yeah.
Well, we learned in this movie that no one wants a minivan. It's the worst thing ever.
Yeah, Tallahassee always gets stuck with the minivan.
The same minivan most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, this time we've gone from Zombie Kill of the Week to Zombie Kill of the Year in this one, and they sort of explain the electricity thing. It's the rains and the dams.
They just kind of threw that in, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that's as automatic as everybody thinks.
Yeah, I don't think even the hydroelectric from dams is that automatic either.
No.
Yeah.
It's got the same humor and situations as the first one, but there's more of it, and the jokes still don't wear thin. At least not yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah, we like this just as much as the first one, I think.
Absolutely.
Which takes us to our next film, and Kevin is just moaning and whining about, it's going to take forever to slog through this one.
Because it felt
He
like a
really
slog.
hated this one.
Yeah, my least favorite of the week. This is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies from 2016.
And I have to say it's my least favorite also.
It was directed by Burr Steers, written by Burr Steers, Jane Austen, Seth Graham-Smith. Stars Lily James, Sam Riley, Jack Houston, and Bella Heathcote. Runtime is 1 hour and 48 minutes, and there's a trailer in the show notes.
Yeah, and you get something like Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
I enjoyed that one.
That was funny.
Uh-huh.
And this is
Mashing
kind of
it
the
together.
same idea. Take one of those old-timey things and put some monsters in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it was boring.
I thought so, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. A slog.
Are you familiar with Pride and Prejudice, the original?
Not really, no.
No, not me neither.
I'm kind of torn if I would have enjoyed it more if I knew Pride and Prejudice and was a fan of it, or if I still would have felt the same way.
I had to read some Jane Austen in school, and I don't remember which one even, but it wasn't this one. But it's basically a bunch of silly women trying to get husbands, and comedy ensues.
And it's a very uptight conservative era,
Yeah.
so they beat around the bush, and
And they try to
are
do that
coy about
here,
it,
and then there's zombies. I don't think
so
it
they're
worked.
still they still try to be polite and coy and conservative, but it didn't work.
They're all well armed.
It didn't work for me.
Spoiler free, what happens?
Well, it's well made with great settings and good costumes. There's good action, and the effects are really good. There's a strong cast, but it's not fun. I didn't think it was fun. Should have been fun. The zombie aspect might have been more effective on its own. I don't know. As it is, it's a satire of the ultra-conservative romance style of Jane Austen. And like we said, kind of thought it was a drag. Yeah, more than fun.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, stuff like Downton Abbey, we've seen that and we liked it.
Yeah.
And of course, horror movies, we see those and we like those.
Somehow mashing them together like this didn't work for this one.
No,
We didn't think so.
No. Well, we open on a man running his horse across the countryside. We hear narration about people being slaughtered by the hordes of living dead during a whist party. The man gets off his horse and identifies himself as Colonel Darcy. They lock him in a box naked and examine him for bites, which was weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it kind of makes sense that they would do this for someone coming in off the the wilderness.
But why wouldn't they?
They never do it again.
Yeah, they never do it again. Never mention it again. And
People are coming and going all the time.
supposedly there's somebody bit there at the party, and why wouldn't they have inspected all the party guests?
Because society.
Yeah, I guess. Rich
But
people.
anyway, he's
Yeah.
clear, so they let him in the house. Darcy comes into the party and says there's a report that someone there has been bitten. Who would have reported that, and why wouldn't they say which person it was?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Don't know.
No one looks like a brain-eating undead, so he sits and plays cards. He then releases a jar of flies, which can easily detect dead flesh. And that's kind of cool, I guess. It's like zombie hunter tools. Yeah.
Yeah.
They land on one man, and Darcy quickly kills him in the middle of the party. Well, what about the man's niece? Oh, yeah, she's got it too.
And the maid, and goes from there. Yeah.
Well, we get a brief history about the zombies as credits roll, and we're told there's a huge wall and moat around London. There's now only one bridge across the Royal Canal.
So most of the zombies are in London, and they've got them quarantined mostly.
And this is a thing, too. If things were that bad, that there was a giant wall and a moat around London,
Gigantic.
they
moat.
wouldn't all be
Yeah.
sitting around in their frilly uniforms talking about playing cards and stuff. It would be a wartime situation.
Polite society.
Yeah.
Life goes on.
No, it
We
doesn't.
must have our whist and tea parties and dinner dances.
This might work well as a book. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, okay. Mr. Bennet and his daughters are told about Mr. Bingley, a new neighbor who is throwing a ball. Lizzie, Jane, Lydia, and Mary have had combat training, but they don't have husbands. The girls put on corsets, frilly dresses, and hidden knives.
Lots of them.
They all go to the party hoping to meet eligible men, and Mr. Bingley is rich and eligible. Darcy is there as well, and he's scary, but rich and eligible as well. Bingley immediately likes Jane, and Lizzie likes Darcy. Mrs. Featherstone, the woman from the zombie party, approaches, and Darcy shoots her head off. A horde of zombies then approaches, and all the Bennet women pull knives. After the massacre, Darcy admits that Lizzie is hot.
And I can't remember exactly how he put it, but that amused me too, because he's admiring their fighting style, and they're pretty women, and and their arms are quite muscular too, but not so much to interfere with their femininity.
Okay, didn't catch that.
Yeah, I really liked that line. I may have the paraphrasing wrong, but
Well, the two sisters spar violently later while discussing Darcy and pride. Jane is invited to tea at the Bingleys, but she's accosted on the way by another zombie. She wastes no time in dispatching the miscreant. She then encounters a mother and a child pair of zombies. Lizzie comes to Bingley's house the next day, as Jane has gotten sick. Uh-oh.
uh-oh.
Darcy releases his flies, which Lizzie grabs right out of the air. She's really fast. Well, we see that there's a whole class thing where rich people learn Japanese martial arts and lesser people learn the Chinese methods.
And it's, they talk about the rich. It's like, the mega rich and the rich. I mean, they're all rich, everybody here. There's
Yeah.
an upper class, but even they have a hierarchy. And, the richest ones are snobby about being trained in Japan, versus, China. But Lizzie did the China thing. Lizzie and her sisters.
Yeah, she brags about reading maybe she ate it too, I don't know.
Yeah.
She brags about reading The Art of War in the original Chinese. Jane starts feeling better, so all the Bennet sisters return home. Cousin Parson Collins comes to dinner. He's Mr. Bennet's heir since his daughters cannot inherit. His patroness is Lady Catherine de Bourgh, the greatest swordsman in all of Great Britain. And he's interested in Jane, but she's awaiting a betrothal to Bingley, so he takes Lizzie as second choice. He'd rather the girls all take up cooking instead of fighting. George Wickham comes to town with his regiment, and he may be stationed there all winter. Lizzie likes Wickham, but he's clearly one of Darcy's rivals. There's yet another ball. This is probably the fourth or fifth one.
Partay.
Wickham, Collins, and Darcy are all interested in Lizzie, but she's everyone's second choice, but she'll have to do because Jane is busy.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie doesn't like Darcy, but she likes Collins even less, so she agrees to dance with him. Suddenly there's a zombie attack. Darcy jumps in and saves the day, but Bingley is injured.
Yeah, and they make a big deal about the zombies are contained in London, and, that's why they got this mode and only the one bridge. But there's an awful lot of zombie activity out here, too.
Yeah, this is all inside the safe zone.
Yeah. But the big drama is they're worried the bridge will fall, the moat will fail, and the horde will sweep across the land from London. But they're doing a pretty good job already.
Yeah,
there's a lot of zombie attacks.
Well, this is why zombies tend to spread anyway, because you can kill them all, but if you got a little blood on your hand or something on a cut, you're still going to get it.
Yeah,
anywhere.
Yeah.
Darcy and Bingley return home, leaving the odious Collins with all the girls. He wants Lizzie to marry him, but only if she retires her violent ways. She refuses, which annoys her mother. Mr. Bennet is fine with this, but her mother is not. She's all about marrying for money.
Yep.
Well, Lizzie storms off into the woods alone and soon finds Wickham and 4 pallbearers out there. He takes her to the bridge and out into the in-between, a sort of no-man's land for zombies. They go to an old church that is just full of zombies. Everyone there is one. They're not fully converted since none of them have eaten a human brain.
Yeah, they're fighting the urge, and they're trying to satisfy themselves with pig brains, and
yeah, this is sort of like a vampire kind of crossover, because
a little bit.
Once you get bitten, you turn into a zombie, but you don't want to kill anybody necessarily until after you're hungry for brains, but you're not mindless until you've eaten some.
Right, and then you become the frenzied monster.
So you got a human, you got a sort of a proto-zombie, and then you got the mindless walking dead. 3 stages. Well, when Lizzie returns home, Charlotte admits that now she's betrothed to Collins, much to Lizzie's relief. They all go visit Lady Catherine, the great warrior. And she never fights anybody in this, does she?
Not much.
I don't think so.
No.
Well, there's a painting there of the 4 horsemen, and they look a lot like those pallbearers that Lizzie saw in the woods. Darcy is Lady Catherine's nephew, and he's there too. Lizzie and Wickham explain about the peaceful zombies and how they can be redeemed with a treaty. Catherine and Collins laugh at the idea. No, they're like locusts. Darcy has Wickham removed. They don't get along. Darcy proposes to Lizzie. He had a hand in breaking up Mr. Bingley and Jane, so she tries to beat him severely. Well, they undress each other with knives, but she eventually throws him out. He later writes her a letter apologizing and explaining. He's gone to the siege of London, which is going badly outside the Great Wall. Wickham runs off with Sister Lydia, and they go to the zombie church. Lady Catherine comes to threaten Lizzie over Darcy, and Lizzie defeats Catherine's giant coachman. Boy, there's a lot of people and a lot of battles in this.
Yeah, there is. A lot of sword play, knife play.
A lot of drama.
Yeah. Well, there was drama in Jane Austen. It's all about the
drama.
So.
The drama's important.
Yeah.
Lizzie and Jane head to the zombie church, but the soldiers have closed the bridge. They go anyway, right into the war zone. They come across Darcy in the field of combat, and he says that the zombie church was razed to the ground 5 days ago. Turns out he lied. Darcy goes to the church the next morning on his own, and he sees the 4 pallbearers outside. He finds a bunch of dead soldiers with their brains cut out, and he finds Lydia chained up in the church's dungeon, but he can't release her. He finds Wickham, who refuses to do the honorable thing, even for money. They argue and zombies attack. Darcy and Lydia get out, but Wickham attacks them outside. Bingley, Jane, and Lydia cross the bridge. Darcy sees that Wickham has been a zombie all along. He simply suppressed his hunger. He's faking it.
Yep, he hasn't fed on human brains, so he hasn't lost control yet.
He says that he's the Antichrist, and the 4 horsemen have come to join him as the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Except then Lizzie rides in and cuts his head off.
So much for that.
Oops.
Yeah.
Bingley gives the order to blow up the bridge just as Darcy and Lizzie are riding across it. Mr. Bingley then comes to Lady Catherine and talks to Jane. Darcy has survived and is fine now, as is Lizzie. He proposes to her once again, and this time she accepts. Jane and Bingley and Lizzie and Darcy have a double wedding.
Happy ending.
Except that London is now surrounded by a moat with no way out and zillions of zombies in the outside world ready to storm in and kill them all at any moment.
Maybe the moat will hold.
Maybe.
It's a mighty big, deep moat.
Maybe.
Zombies can't swim very well, I guess.
Well, this wasn't so much a comedy as it was a satire of those old melodramatic romance books from the 19th century. There were actually very few laughs here.
There were few. There were some, but few.
Yeah. It's got all the silly, frilly, giggly, romantic nonsense from Jane Austen, but also a lot of bloody zombie combat. The sets and costumes here are very elaborate, as are the makeup and the gore effects. It all looks really good.
Yeah, it does.
The zombies here are, well, most of the zombies here are sensible and can talk. Even the brain-eating ones can talk.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't help but eat people's brains. There's also an intermediate stage where people are in before they eat the human brains, which I have not seen before. I like the political angle with the half-turned zombies, which would have been interesting to see more of that, but too much of the film dwells on Jane Austen's side of things, which honestly just sort of slows down the action. It's a well-made, witty movie, but I didn't like it.
No, not very much.
Yeah, it's like, is this over yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally it was.
All right, and Warm Bodies from 2013 is next. I could have sworn we'd seen this before,
Nope,
but as we
had
watched
not.
it, I couldn't remember any part of this, so
No.
maybe we didn't.
We had not seen this.
Directed by Jonathan Levine, written by Isaac Marion and Jonathan Levine, stars Nicholas Hoult, Teresa Palmer, John Malkovich, and Leo Tipton. Hour 39 minutes. Spoiler-free, it's basically a retelling of Romeo and Juliet.
Which I didn't realize until well past the halfway point. It didn't occur to me. Oh, that's what they're doing
It's
here.
a little subtle.
It's not a blatant,
No.
But yeah, it's there.
This group of people and this group of people, they're not allowed to get together.
Uh-huh. And their names even.
Yeah. It has an angle that's rarely seen in zombie movies, which boosted it quite a bit. It's decently made in all aspects and entertaining, but not quite great.
It was good.
Not quite great. I
Not
liked
quite.
it.
Okay, well.
You didn't.
I liked it. I didn't love it. I'd give it a 6, 7. 7. Give it a 7.
Yeah, the Romeo and Juliet makes it sound like it's a big romantic thing. And it's got that, but it's not a romance movie.
Yeah.
It's more of a zombie comedy.
Yeah.
All right, what happens?
Well, R is talking in a voiceover, wonders why he can't connect with people or stand up straighter. Oh, yeah, he's a zombie. Credits roll. He doesn't remember his name, but it probably started with an R. All his friends are zombies, and he wonders what they were like in life. He and the others hang around the airport all day, every day. At some point, zombies who give up, they become bonies, which, they basically claw all the flesh off their head.
You're like CGI skeleton kind of guys.
Yeah, and that looks pretty awful. But still, he's not mindless. He can open doors, play records, do simple tasks. They're all kind of wandering around doing stuff. Sort of.
Now, in most of the older zombie movies, at least, they always say that the zombies do what they're familiar with. They go about their basic lives and stick around the places they're useful with. This one takes it a little bit further than that.
Yeah, a little, yeah. Well, all the zombies do have one thing in common. Their taste in food. They like brains. Got to be living brains, though. They don't feed on each other. Yeah. Well, we cut to a survivor camp. There are military checkpoints, and it doesn't look like very much fun either. It's been 8 years since the plague began. Julie and her friends get a pep talk before being sent out into the city to scout and scavenge for medicine. The zombies rush into the lab where they are, and there's a gun battle. R watches in fascination as Julie shoots all his friends. R eats Perry's brains and gets his memories and thoughts. That's kind of a different thing, too. He walks right up to Julie and stares into her eyes. Perry was Julie's boyfriend, and he got some of that from the brains. He takes her along with him to the zombie gang, the survivors. She's the only human survivor. And they go to his home lair aboard an old jetliner. Not eat, he says, but she's clearly terrified of him. and she can't leave because the whole airport is swarming with the undead. We get flashbacks to Perry meeting Julie's father, who is the leader of the humans. R plays records for Julie, and she sees that he's not exactly a mindless zombie. And we see that R's cold, dead heart thumps a beat.
Ba-doom.
Yeah, just one. Well, the two will go outside, and Julie pretends to be a zombie to blend in. She wants to leave, but he wants her to stay, so they go for a drive in his convertible. And he's not a great driver. Yeah, not at all. Well, before long, she starts to kind of have fun. He collects things, and she likes that. She sleeps, but he doesn't do that anymore.
Now, out of the 5 movies we've watched this week, 4 of them involve people pretending to be zombies.
Yeah.
Which is, you never see that in the real zombie movies because it's so easy. Yeah, you just smear some blood on you and walk out right in the middle of everybody, and you're fine.
Well, The Walking Dead did that.
The Walking Dead did that, yes. But most don't, because it's just a stupid weakness of the whole genre.
Yeah.
How do the zombies tell that this guy next to them is actually a zombie or not?
Yeah, how do you tell?
Fresh meat? Not fresh meat. How do you tell?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, M, one of the other zombies, hears the music and the lights in the airplane. Julie goes out, and he and his zombie buddy surround her. She fights them off with a weed whacker until R shows up to help her. A Boney shows up and almost gets them both, but they narrowly escape with M's help. Other regular zombies see them holding hands and let them through. Well, the two drive away from the airport and eventually stop at a house in the suburbs. Meanwhile, back at the airport, M and some of the other zombies start to remember things from their own past, sparked by R and Julie holding hands. And some of them get a heart thump as well.
Ba-doom.
And the Bonies start to detect something humanish about this, and they come sniffing around. It's kind of a tense moment.
It's clear here that at this point the Bonies are the bad guys, and zombies are a little bit more questionable.
And the Bonies can clearly tell who's living and who's not. Yeah. But there looks like there's trouble on the horizon. Well, Julie's dad drives by outside the house. Julie says he would shoot R if he ever saw him. She doesn't want that. And she figures out what R did to Perry, but she understands. Just his nature, R has a weird dream of hanging out with Julie and her friends in real life. He wakes up in the morning and she's gone. And this is something that he mentions that zombies don't do. They don't sleep, they don't dream, and he's doing that now. So it's like he's reverting back to human. R is depressed at being left by his girlfriend. Julie returns to the city, and her father's happy to see her, but also angry that she's been gone for so long. He's paranoid about her getting bitten. Well, R runs into M and the others, who are all acting more human than they had been. The Bonies, in fact, chase them out because they're starting to act so human. M says R has started something with their memories. We are changing, says R. Well, R sneaks into the city, looks for Julie's house. Inside, Julie tells Nora that maybe they've all misunderstood the zombies, and she kind of misses him. She goes outside in the balcony and sees R down there. She warns him that anyone else in the city would kill him. Nora comes out and sees him. She thinks he's kind of cute. She hugs him and comments about how he feels warmer than she remembers. And we see his eyes and skin color are getting more normal. That was a nice, subtle makeup.
Yeah, he was scarred and very white and pasty looking in the beginning, and now he's looking a little normaler.
Looking, more normal in the eyes, and Well, he tells her that lots of them are changing and evolving, and that the Bonies are chasing them, and the Bonies are coming. Nora has some makeup, and they give him a makeover, make him try to look completely alive, and then they can sneak him out of the city. Well, the problem is the Bonies are massing outside the city, and the soldiers are getting ready for a fight, including Julie's father, the colonel. Well, Julie tries to convince her father that the dead are coming back to life, and he's not willing to listen. R introduces himself, but he's too nervous to speak, and the colonel's not convinced. He's going to kill R, except Nora pulls a gun on the colonel until R and Julie can get away. Well, they get back to M's group. There are hundreds of recovering zombies with him, and they all want to join the fight. The Bonies are breaking in, And the bonies, zombies, and soldiers all converge in the subway and on the fringes of the city. Some of the dead rescue the soldiers, and they report this back to the colonel. And some of the soldiers see that the zombies are fighting the zombies. The zombies are fighting the bonies. So it makes the colonel kind of start to wonder. Well, we see R's eyes turn blue just as the colonel shoots him. And he's bleeding, which corpses don't do. So the soldiers, he tells them to put down their weapons, and the colonel changes his orders to the men. The soldiers and the zombies completely team up to fight the bonies. And given time, they beat the bonies, and all the zombies become human again. R still doesn't remember his first name, but otherwise, he's looking pretty normal. And we see the humans tear down their wall.
Happy ending.
Yeah.
All right, throughout the film, we get a voiceover of R's internal monologue, and he sounds perfectly normal on the inside. He's just sort of trapped in the Zombieland. The zombies themselves have some reason, even in the beginning, but the bonies are the really nasty, mindless ones. They're just animals.
Yep.
The acting here is decent, and the script is a rehash of R for Romeo and Julie for Juliet, except for the downer ending. They don't kill each other. They don't die at the end.
It's a happier ending.
But it's entertaining, and it's occasionally funny at points. I did like it.
It was okay.
Yeah, all right.
6, 7.
Yeah.
I
okay.
didn't love it, but I liked it.
Compared to Pride and Prejudice, it's Oscar-worthy.
Yeah, Pride and Prejudice is on my dislike side of 5. I'd give it a 4.
I would give it a 4 also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything 5 or less is pretty much a dislike. And yeah, I'd give it a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the best one of the week?
I'd go with I don't know, the Zombielands, but I have a hard time which
Shaun of the Dead was pretty good too.
It was, yeah. I don't know, because all 3 of those were really, really good.
I'm going to go with the first Zombieland.
I'm not sure which I'd go with my favorite, because they're all up there 9, 10s. Yeah.
Well, you just said Warm Bodies was a 6, and Pride and Prejudice was a 4. So
yeah, so those 3 are 9s and 10s. And
okay.
Yeah.
And again, over on the Horror Bulletin newsletter, which you can sign up for at horrorbulletin.com, it's free and once a week comes with all our reviews in it. We also talked about 1944's The Uninvited,
which I was pleasantly surprised by. I'd never seen it, never heard of it, never anything, and yeah, that was quite enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a lighthearted ghost story with a bit of mystery to solve. It looks good, has a good cast and script, and was entertaining overall.
And 65 was good, pretty straightforward on the story. Not a lot of surprises.
Well, that's the problem. That was the problem I had with it, is it didn't really have a story. The guy crash lands on a planet, and he tries to escape.
Happens. Yeah. You can see he's going to try to escape with the girl, and it's a straightforward story, but it's really well made. It's got Adam Driver, who's does it skillfully, and the girl is good, and
it's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right.
Yeah,
it's worth watching. It's not going to win any awards this year.
It's entertaining.
All right, and stop in next week where we will have more horror for you.
Okay.
Got all kinds of good stuff coming up next week, too.
Yeah, we do.
And, of course, you can stop in at horrorguys.com every day if you want to pick up our daily reviews at the website or get it once a week in the Horror Bulletin newsletter.
You could buy a book every day.
You could. Probably for about a month worth at least there. There's a lot of books out there. HorrorGuysShop.com. All right, well, we'll talk to you next week. Until then, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
We'll see you next week.
See you.